On adoption, all those in favor? Motion's carried. 3 delegations this afternoon. First of all, the Inspector Tim Walton here from the RCMP to give us his quarterly update. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm told that the crime stats are circulated.
Yes.
So I do a pop quiz in 5 minutes. Everybody's going to have all the answers, right? It's going to be, all you have to know is green, yellow, or red. That's all you have to know. So. Anyways, I'm here today to deliver, I guess it would be an annual report on the 4 quarters of the last fiscal year that ended March 31st. And also to brief you on 3 initiatives that were undertaken in the office. So if you look at the crime, remember the crime report you got yesterday, you look at the majority of crimes that increased for Comox compared to the fiscal year previous. But the good news is we had 7% fewer calls in the town of Comox than we did the year previously. And that's balanced off with a slight increase in the Comox Valley overall. So the bragging rights to the second safest place in all of BC still got it. On the category of theft, there's a slight increase in thefts this fiscal year compared to last fiscal year. Tools seem to be one of the main targets. And you experienced in Comox essentially what the rest of the valley experienced. There's a rash of theft from places such as the rec center. Multiple offenders are placed under surveillance, and coincidentally, guess what? It stopped. Other thefts from coin boxes and laundry machines in apartments. A suspect was arrested, actually was just released. Another suspect was arrested here on the same issue, found to be a multi-jurisdictional offender, and also committing the same crime in Kamloops. So there's a bit more travel last year than the year before, up and down the island. And the majority of the thefts that we've experienced here in Comox are thefts of opportunity, thefts at school, theft at public places. And the majority of the files that we had, our suspects were known to police, to use a popular TV term. Theft of autos, it jumped in the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of the last fiscal year. And if you're the owner of an F-250 or F-350 pickup, yeah, beware. They seem to be targeted on the island this past year. And we found that most car thieves are also involved in criminal activities such as theft, drug abuse, or drug trafficking, so no surprise there at all. One of the files that we've had in the last quarter of the year, our drug section and crime reduction unit collaborated, arrested 2 individuals, traffic stop, and a smorgasbord of drugs here was seized, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, GHB, marijuana, as well as caps, handgun, ammunition. So it was quite a successful day for them. So of course, charges have been recommended on that one as well. Theft of bikes, here, dropped by 9, so 50% drop the year before. 365 Garage, the app that we announced last month. We're still promoting, there'll be more on it this month. Skygroves did a wonderful job on that and partnered up with local bike shops. So we're happy to see something in the community effort on that. Break-in enters, majority of these are committed by persons known to resident. Interesting. Tenants, ex-spouses, that type of thing. Again, we have one of our offenders has multi-jurisdictional, committing thefts from Camel River to Nanaimo. So again, they're moving around. And the assaults the past year for Comox anyways, the vast majority were domestic assaults. Some were fights at school, mixed bag there. Now, one of the priorities I had last week was missing persons and trying to increase our collaboration. So I'm happy to report that recently we formed a ad hoc multi-agency group, held our first meeting and discussed one of our chronic runaways. I attended the first part of the meeting, and it was quite well done by our coordinator. There was certainly an appetite amongst all the agencies to get to the bottom of the issue and get a plan for this person. On the staffing analysis, I know I've been talking about for a year now. I got the report yesterday, so I'll be analyzing it this week. And I'll get back to you, see what that tells us. And a staffing update, last year we experienced a higher than normal vacancy pattern, which led to lower than average policing costs. And the past 2 weeks, we've had 4 new members identified to be transferred in this summer. We've also had employees recently return to work from long-term sick leave. So I anticipate the policing costs for this coming fiscal year for us will be closer to the average. The Island District has hired an additional disability case manager as well, which has increased our success of bringing people back to work. But on the the sad side, we're losing 3 members this year. Constables Slofster, McGeorge, and Bigger are all leaving us for other places, other opportunities. So, and a few of them have been here a lot longer than I have. So they know the community rather well. And our detachment building, I've asked our headquarters to provide a long-term strategic plan for our existing building, as well as to provide interim solutions for our plainclothes investigators. So the bottom line is I have no news on that at all. And a priority setting for the coming year, our priorities remain relatively unchanged. Relationship abuse, or race of violence, substance abuse, traffic safety, property crimes. So no change from last year. And finally, anybody know what week this is?
Police week. Police week.
That's, yeah, get close. Emergency preparation week this week. And police week next week. So I will be up at Crown Isle next Tuesday at Thrifty's, handing out my usual hot dogs and getting about 150 pieces of cake. Celebrate Canada's big birthday this year as well. So that's where we'll be next Tuesday.
Yeah, Constable Gardner was Vanny this morning. He mentioned that he was going to send an email out so we could put that in our calendars. Thank you. Any questions from members of council? A couple of things you touched on were discussed at the RCMP Contract Management Committee meeting that I sit on at PCN in terms of the disability case management that you referenced, the concerted efforts you're making to try to get people back to work if they can, if they can't, and move them along to other opportunities. So something that they put a lot of focus on, as you know. And also referencing the fact they've increased the recruitment numbers, I think an extra platoon or 2. I can't remember the numbers exactly, but trying to get more people through the process.
Yeah, we've got a newest recruit gets here in June. Okay. So Sky will not be the youngest member of the office. I know she's quite happy about that.
All right, well, thank you again for your presentation. All right, you can stay for the rest of the meeting if you wish, or you can go get your hot dogs ready. You have next on the agenda Brent Burton from the Comox Valley Economic Development Society to give us the spring update. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you, thank you. You should stick around for this. It's going to be amazing.
Really?
I'll try my best. Before again, good afternoon. I'm Brent Curtin I'm the Destination Marketing Manager of Comox Valley Economic Development and Tourism, and I'd like to thank Mayor and Council for providing us the opportunity to present our strategic priorities. It's for Q1, so apparently I have 10 minutes, so I'll dive right into it because when it gets to the destination marketing part, I could go on and on and on. So I'll try my best to kind of plug through this. But generally, as part of our fee-for-service with the Comox Valley Regional District, we report quarterly. And what I'll be doing is talking about our outputs and measurements from our annual work plan, which flows from the 5-year Regional Economic Development Strategic Plan. I think I said that properly from memorization. But what's our job? Our job is to support business. We report economic news and opportunities, and what we do is drive interest in investment and tourism to the region, and all at the same time collaborating with a whole bunch of different community members and organizations in doing so. So let's see if this one works. Okay, so first of all, the priority economic outcomes. Obviously, with our office, we do get pulled in a lot of different directions, but what we try to do is focus our time, direction, attention, and efforts towards these following economic outcomes. While we can't be held solely responsible for all of these, although some would probably like us to be solely responsible for some of these, what we do is we work hard to improve the metrics of each of these. And as an example, in my area of expertise, I work a lot with the hotels. And increase in hotel room revenue in 2016, just for example, we saw an increase in the MRDT, which is the Municipal Regional District Tax on hotels. That went up 28% in 2016 over the previous year. So that's kind of one small area where we're trying to make a difference, and we definitely have through the various activities that the office takes part in. So next is the Q1 key project highlights. These generally take a lot of our office time, obviously. So we'll talk about the higher level ones, and that includes the Export Navigator project, our Osmall Winter Campaign and Winterfest, and then the partnerships that we've been working on in the first quarter of 2017. So as you may recall with the Export Navigator project, we're the only economic development office in BC that's working with the province of BC on this program. And basically, in a nutshell, we're working with businesses that are already exporting and businesses that are looking to export. And what we do is, for the companies that are exporting, we're looking to expand their international reach. And then for new businesses who are looking to export, we're giving them the tools and assistance to be able to let them get out of market from regional, provincial to, be it international or across the country, wherever it needs to go. So our office has been working a lot on that, and Team Jeff has been working particularly hard on that one. So, and just a reminder too, at the end of this, if you guys have any questions for us, Jeff Crawford is here, who's our business development guy, so he can answer a lot of questions that I can't when it comes to the business side of stuff. I'll answer all your tourism questions. Winterfest, we'll talk about more down the line here with the presentation, but one thing to note with the whole winter campaign is that we did sign a recent MOU with the Comox VIA, and we will be working with them in 2018 to promote more of our après Winterfest events in the town of Comox. In addition to Courtenay, we saw a lot of forward movement with the Courtenay efforts this year and bringing people to downtown Courtenay, and we'd like to do the same for Comox. So we will be working with Sue Wood and team in that regard. And then with partnerships and collaboration in Q1, you can see the different organizations that we've been working with to sign MOUs, because we find that the best way to move forward with all the organizations that we deal with is to have a proper MOU, which just creates better efficiencies and allows us to move forward with some defined directions. So Tourism Out Washington, the Comox BIA, CVAC, we've signed those ones, and we're working on the Courtenay BIA, the Chamber of Commerce, and also Innovation Island. And with the Comox VIA, just a note there at the bottom that it's small business support, and we're also working with them to help out with their social media programs, because we've been doing a lot of action in that regard in the last year. So we're going to be helping out the Comox VIA with their social media. Next up is business retention and enhancement. This is where Team Jeff comes into play. He's been working on obviously business support, whether it just be information providing to businesses coming in, anybody, if there's a new business looking for information. Jeff has been, you can see the metrics there with the number of different companies and site visits and everything else that he's been doing. Of particular note, Jeff did work with a local Comox business recently to develop a proposal to get the VHA contract for the new hospital and the Campbell River Hospital, and that local business was successful in getting that. So that's one example of some work that Jeff has been doing with businesses, local businesses, to increase their reach or develop more business for them.
That was in food service?
It was in food service, yes. After that, investment attraction and promotion. So with regards to investment attraction and promotion, we're currently working on some regional tech strategies with Innovation Island and the Vancouver Island Economic Developers Association. As you can see there's a couple of key areas in investment attraction that we've been working on. Tech is a big one, and you probably received it already, but our AGM, which is coming up near the end of May, we actually have Graham Truax, who's the executive in residence with Innovation Island. He'll be the keynote speaker on May 25th, so we encourage you to come out for that. And he'll be talking about tech opportunities and how those relate to our region, the Comox Valley. Now, destination marketing does fall under investment attraction and promotion as well. So, that's my area of expertise. I'll try to keep this one down to about 15 minutes. But the key events, as you can see there, we do have a lot of events that we do support throughout the year. In particular, Q1 is considered what people call the off-season. It's not the busy summer season, so that's where we do focus a lot of our activities. Winterfest, which was huge, I'll talk about that in a second. We did Dine Around. In preparation for the BC Shellfish and Seafood Festival, we had a launch event in Vancouver that was very successful. And we are attending shows as well, like the outdoor shows in Seattle and Calgary to promote our summer outdoor products, and Marine Adventures, which a lot of them are obviously located in Comox. And the Seafood Expo North America we have attendance at that to help support and promote the aquaculture industry, obviously, in the Shellfish Festival. The big takeaway probably from this slide is the value of leveraged funds. I think we probably told you last year how we received about $175,000 in partner funding from Destination BC for marketing specific campaigns or festivals. This year we reapplied. It came back for a second year, and we reapplied for the maximum amount of $250,000, and we actually received approval in Q1 for the full $250,000. So that's a huge one for us to get an extra. We have to spend the $250,000 to get the $250,000, but we have that budgeted in. And we're supporting the Shellfish Festival, an outdoor adventure campaign, a Two Wheels Bike Festival, which will incorporate all kinds of different cycling in the Comox Valley, and also Winterfest as part of that program. So a huge boost for marketing the Comox Valley through that. At the Vancouver Island Visitor Center, they've seen increases across the board with between booking revenues, which can be attributed to the fact that we've been working hard at increasing our online presence for booking. We have a new Resgo system, which is kind of like capturing the sale now. So if you're looking anywhere and you want to buy a ticket, you want to buy it now, you go online to book that. So we've incorporated an online booking system into our tour operators program, and you can book whale watching or anything else that we have available online for purchase. So we've seen increases in that. So Winterfest, as I mentioned, just some metrics regarding that one, just because of the size and scope. We saw a huge increase in our festival stays over the previous year with 82%. And if you're thinking the year before there was no snow, that's not the case with the year before that. So it's actually a very similar year-over-year comparison. Web views, and we did have a new website that is fully responsive and easier to view and easier to book and easier to see things. So we did see increases in our total web views and our user sessions. A user session compared to a view, in a nutshell, if you don't know the web lingo, a user session is just a more valuable way of measuring it, because people are returning or looking for multiple devices and they have to be on for a certain amount of time. So to see increases on that is good, because it usually means that people are interested in more looking. Another big takeaway from Winterfest this year was the number of community stakeholders involved in the actual festival, over 100. And that Rail Jam poster, that was actually, I don't know if you heard about that, but that took place on 6th Street. And we worked extensively with the community partners who are listed in the sponsors at the bottom of that to bring that together and work with the City of Courtenay to get the road closed and approved for running an event like that. And it was attended by close to 1,500 people. It was packed, and it was a really cool way to kick off that festival. Okay, so economic development facilitation. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of projects that we're involved with, and this gives you kind of a quick high-level glance at some of the major ones that we've been involved, to kind of give you an idea again of some success with these. The BC Seafood Festival on the second point on that list. In Q1, we're working on not the activation of the marketing, not the activation of the festival. We're trying to develop new events. We're trying to develop partnerships and sponsors. And just to show you how popular the Shellfish and the Seafood Festival is now, over $250,000 between cash, in-kind, and government grant support for that event. So it's a big one, and really a lot of that lies in the heart of Comox. So I think you're going to see some pretty big crowds there from June 9th to the 18th. And the Comox by the Sea celebration at Fulbright Heritage Lodge and Park, that's going to be taking place on Father's Day this year. It's on the Sunday. So I think we're going to have to work out a pretty good promo for the dads. Maybe we'll have to kick in a free beer there or something like that. So, actually, I shouldn't say that. RCMP in the house. We will seek approvals for we'll have to register that. So anyways, yeah, with the projects that we have going on, that's a big one for us. We do a lot of work, obviously, on that Shellfish Festival, and we're seeing some reward from all that hard work. With communications, that's organized by Lara Grizzi from our office, and unfortunately she can't be here right now, but her main takeaway from this that she wanted me to pass on to you guys is the international media program that she was able to establish for the Shellfish Festival received significant funding, as well as the funding that we received through marketing and everything else. And right now, she's oversubscribed for the number of media that are coming to that event. So it's going to get, the earned media coverage, so the free media, so to speak. It's not free because you're paying for some media to come here, but at the end of the day, we're not paying for advertising, and we get tons of coverage and stories in publications all across North America and internationally through Asia as well. So that's another big one. And if you take a look at our social media, where we've been making a lot of strides over the last year or two, we've been seeing consistent increases in, that's a Q1 to Q1 increase over the previous year. We're seeing a little bit modest for the Twitter, but our Facebook through the VI Visitor Center, 11,821. That's a 10% increase, and those jumps can be attributed to stuff like Winterfest, because the more festival activity we do on social media, the more we see an increase in likes. So that basically concludes. Was it 10 minutes? Hopefully they're give or take. But that concludes. If you guys have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer whatever.
Questions for Brent? Councilor Swift.
Thank you for the report. It's exciting. At one time, economic development was going to partner with BIA and have office space in Toronto.
Yeah, the shared space program.
So that's still.
I didn't. It was on the list. I didn't actually speak about that specifically, but we are working still, looking at different properties. And I don't know, Jeff, if you want to weigh in additionally on that. But we are looking actively at getting a space in Comox as well as some other areas.
Yeah, I don't have any more information on that, but we are actively looking with the BIA.
And how much space do you need?
That's a good question. While we are looking with the BIA, we aren't the only two partners that we are considering space for, but essentially a small office, central downtown location is what we're trying to find. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Thank you for your presentation.
Very much.
So everybody's quiet here. Didn't want to interrupt you. You got a cooler in that thing? I wish I had something cool.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Next presentation is Betty Tate and Andrea Kelly from the Coalition to End Homelessness Update. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. My name is Andrea Capelli, and I'm the coordinator with the Comox Valley Coalition to End Homelessness. And we're made up of 19 different member agencies, so different not-for-profits, community organizations, as well as several advisors and many friends and supporters. And together we come together to collaborate and to coordinate and implement responses, community responses to homelessness in the Comox Valley. So we're here today to update you on our 5-year plan. We are currently going into year 3. So we're going to talk a bit about that and about some of the accomplishments that we've gone through this year. So the highlights from our 2016 to 2017 year, we conducted a point-in-time count, which I'll talk about. I want to talk about our vital signs report on housing, a drop-in center that we started at the Courtney Public Library, the housing projects that we've built, and then again the update on our 5-year plan and our funding request. So in April 2016, we conducted a point-in-time count in the Comox Valley. And so the point-in-time count, if you're not familiar with it, is basically grabbing a snapshot of those who are on the streets, those who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, or considered to be hidden homeless, so those who are couch surfing. And so we conducted this survey at certain points, certain locations throughout the Comox Valley on one day, so 24-hour count, as well as throughout the entire week, just to get more data and a better picture of who is actually experiencing these issues in the Comox Valley. So this also helped to provide really valuable information for our 5-year plan on what we want to be doing, what we can implement, what projects we can work on to help address the issues. And all levels of government and community agencies plan and provide the supports to address homelessness, so we recognize that. So if you want to find the complete results from the survey, they can be found on our website at cbhousing.ca. And here is also a little infographic we put together. So we ended up surveying 157 people. We know that there's more than 157 in our community, but those are the people we actually were able to capture during that week. 55% are hidden homeless, so again, those who are couch surfing, staying with family and friends, and 45% were absolute, so those who are staying in shelters or sleeping in vehicles, that sort of thing. So a lot of interesting data here. I highly encourage you to check this out. You can download it, you can share it with people, but again, listing different reasons for becoming homelessness in the valley, evictions, family conflict, domestic abuse, addiction, and so forth. And we've also highlighted what the barriers are to affordable housing in our community, and that's low income, high rent, and a lack of suitable, safe, and affordable housing. As you may know, there was a vital signs report that came out this year, our 2016 as well. A really great year for lots of data for our community. And this was put on by the Comox Valley Social Planning Society, as well as the Comox Valley Community Foundation. And I actually want to mention that our point in time count also was funded by the United Way, Central Northern Vancouver Island, mouthful. So you can see, you know, we all know the story, rental vacancy rate, 0.5%, extremely low. There is a lot of issues going on in our province right now with affordable housing. And you can see that top priorities, this is asking people for the Vital Signs survey what their priorities were. Number 1, more affordable housing units. Number 2, increased efforts to reduce homelessness in the Comox Valley. And number 3, increased number of secondary suites, which is quite interesting. We also attached some emergency shelter statistics from the Pidcock Salvation Army shelter, so you can see how many folks were there and how many people were turned away, and the numbers are pretty staggering. So I'm going to pass the torch over to Betty, and she's going to carry on. Thank you.
So that's the data. Now I'm just going to talk about a few projects that we actually accomplished in the last year. So the first one was we actually started a drop-in at the Courtney Library, and this has been talked about for a while, and what was happening at the Courtney Library is a warm, sheltered space for people to go when there's nowhere to go. And so the library was having homeless people in there, and we're struggling with it a little bit, so they actually came to us and said, is there something we can do? There's other libraries in the province that we know about that are partnering and providing some programming and also resources for people and to help us. So we applied for United Way funding and also federal funding from the Homelessness Partnership Strategy. We got some United Way funding, and we're able to open this drop-in, and we chose Wednesday and Sunday afternoons, calling it the Drop-In and Connect program. And it began just in November 2016, and the response has been amazing. We're getting 20 to 30 people attending each time. And the existing services in the community go there, the workers. So I would say probably most of the people that are there providing the programming for the people that are attending the drop-in know them. They're their workers, so it's a good collaboration between the services and the library. And some of the things are educational, some of the things are social, some of the things are helping them finding housing. Sometimes they have a snack and watch a movie together, whatever. So we're evaluating it as a pilot, and we'd like to expand it because it has been so successful. And we have actually received more funding this year from United Way. We're actually the only organization that got more funding this year from United Way than we got last year. And it was for this. And we're also pursuing more homelessness partnership federal funding for that. And then the housing projects that we completed. There's 2 transitional units of housing at Amethyst House. that was funded through the Homelessness Supports Regional Service that has been completed and was occupied in January 2017. And already we're hearing from the Transition Society that they need more. It's definitely been successful and a huge difference if women can go in there after their recovery program, then be discharged to the street, which does happen because they lose their housing when they're in there. And then we also built, or Transition Society built 4 2-bedroom units of affordable housing, and it was again funded through the CBRD. Town of Comox, thank you very much. And also we got a grant from BC Housing, and that is housing for women and children. So there's 4 families living in there, and it's relieved some of the backlog at Lily House, so that it was interesting that Tim and the relationship violence, which definitely, hopefully, this has provided some housing for women coming out of that. One project that's currently under construction and should be finished within the next couple months is 14 new units at the Pig Cod House. So that's 8 shelter beds, and they're also are adding 6 transitional units there, so a bit more long term than I think it's for up to 2 years. While people get on their feet and more consistent housing. So rather than the shelter beds, which is like you can come in here and sleep for overnight. And that's a BC Housing project. And then, happy to report, Braidwood is starting. So actually that was funded too through BC Housing and City of Courtenay, which I know was probably all of you, because that money originated at CBRD. So the site, it's been transferred to Macola Housing. They're just going through the final variances, and construction should start this summer and should be finished by we're hoping for the fall of 2018. I just want to say that I think that this sort of the different funding there is a good example of how the money from the town of Comox and the CBRD Homelessness Supports Regional Service has helped us to leverage with BC Housing and also the federal funding. But it's really, you know, people say, well, $180,000 isn't very much. Well, no, but it's huge in terms of it's not going to build a lot of housing per se, although we did pretty well. But it's huge in terms of leverage and saying we've got this much. And so, thank you. And just wanted to show you, these are some of the units. The 2 on the top are the 4-plex of the 2-bedroom units. And on the bottom are the units that were built at, they're actually right at Amicus House. They're blocked off from the recovery program, but the workers who support the women in recovery are there available to the women who are in this transition for 2 years. So it's a really nice collaboration too. And then here's the ask. So we've been to CBRD, and they have approved $60,000 from the Regional Homelessness Support Service for Wachi for the Braidwood, because even though they got, I think they got $3 million, it's going to cost more than that. So we're still fundraising for that. And then for Dawn to Dawn, who are planning to buy or would like to buy 2 condos. So $90,000 from CBRD, and our ask is for the town of Comox to contribute their $30,000 to that. And the idea for that is that, and actually Jeff and Richard are here from Dawn to Dawn, so if you've got questions about what they want to do, you can ask them. But basically with the rental market the way it is, and as people know, Dawn to Dawn has scattered housing, to have their own condos that they can put people in is going to be, we think, a huge asset for them. So we've sent a letter, and that's what we're asking for. And that's it. So the 5-year plan is at that website, Facebook, you can contact us, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Councilor.
Well, it's not a question, it's more of a comment in that, well, I remember back before the coalition was put together that there was everybody coming to us and different organizations looking for money, basically competing for the same dollars. And I think that since and I don't think we've so much as bought a cup of coffee for anybody in about 10 years trying to do it that way. So it's really good to see that since you guys have come together and put that group together, that there's actually a lot of action happening on that. And I think you're to be commended for that, because I know that keeping a coalition like that together can't be an easy thing, but it seems as though you've all figured that there's a common goal here, and so it all seems to be working. And I guess my other question would be for our guys. I noticed there's an ask up there for us. What's the process for that? Will that be coming up at an upcoming meeting?
There'll be a memo on next week's agenda.
Okay. And I'm going to assume that everybody knows what scattered housing is around the table, or do you guys want to give us a little minute on what that actually means?
Sure, happy to. So what Dawn has been doing, it's for almost 10 years of existence, is we literally depend on the private realty market, and we rent apartments, sometimes basement suites, houses scattered around the community, everywhere from Comox down as far as Union Bay. And the notion is that for many of our clients, not being in a congregated facility is the best solution for them, particularly for families, of which we're housing quite a few now as they come from the transition society. And we appreciate, and I'm just going to make the comment that we're not adding new inventory to the valley necessarily by buying a couple of condos, but in the current market, which is not only tight, as you may well appreciate, people are taking advantage of the market, understandably, and selling some of the properties that they've been renting. So we've had 3 properties sold out from under us in this last quarter. Right? So this will give us a little bit of security, and we'd like to build on that over time, but to give us a start. So that's why we're happy that the coalition has chosen to support our notion of going forward with at least the purchase of a couple of condos. So.
How do you go about acquiring these? Do you go to tender on this, or what's the process?
He's more of an expert than I am.
Well, basically, Tom Grant and me and Jonathan Kerr kind of noticed in the marketplace, this is one of the only areas that condos are 1-bedroom, low-level condos can be purchased for an average around $85,000. So there's 2 expenses. There's rent and condo fees. And some of these lower-end condos that would fit our needs really work. I know Grant Schilling with us. He's our boots on the ground that really does the work. He's experimented with putting people into 2 bedrooms. You can take your $375 that we get for rent subsidy and times it by 2 is $750. Geez, it should work. But our clientele is so unique. Each individual has to have its own case program. It doesn't work. So we'd go out and put options on these lower end condos, and then there's a thought that this could be the equity component. And we've talked to BC Housing, and they'll help us on the debt side of it as well. So really, it's a strong ask, and to get the BC Housing money, they want to see a 1.25 debt service coverage, and we feel we can do that at around the $85,000 mark, using this as equity, pick up debt if we have to, and still pay for that condo fee.
So it'd be helpful for the purpose of the staff report to give us some of that information, perhaps by email through staff, just exactly how you do
okay, sure, yeah, we can give an example. And we've run internally, we initially thought, well, we'll go for 4, and then, when we had the PIA application with the government, the Provincial Investment in Housing, and we actually put an application in for a build. And it was so popular, instead of giving out for $55 million, they gave out $320 million last year. And now they still have money available, but it comes in different forms. So we're trying to figure that out with the guys in Victoria. So, anyway, does that help?
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Question?
Yeah, thank you for this. So do you also offer like an advocacy kind of role? Because there are, a group of people too that fall into this homeless issue that don't have addiction problems, don't have family problems, but have a child and they go to rent, and they're told, "Oh, sir, we don't want to rent to kids or families with kids." And I know 2 people who've run up against this. So there is that element out there that is kind of they're in the shadows, but they still need that help. We've got these rents that are minimum $1,000 a month, but the jobs aren't really there. The salary dollars aren't really there, but the rents keep going up and up and up. So, this is a group of people that we can't forget. So, is there something that you offer that, you can advocate for them, or that perhaps of family-friendly rentals?
Yeah, okay, a couple of things about that. I don't want to leave the impression that all the people that are homeless
Right.
are people with drug and alcohol problems. And more, we're seeing it's the whole spectrum,
Right.
from babies to seniors. I was at a seniors meeting the other day, and every agency around that table said, "I've had 3 calls this week about women that can't find housing. Their place has been sold out from under them because the market is." So definitely, it's that whole spectrum that we're looking at. In terms of advocacy, I would say the coalition as a group is looking more at bigger systemic advocacy, but there are many workers in the community who will advocate and help people. Grant, who Jeff just spoke about, but different agencies, Richard might have some. So, yes, I mean, the kind of advocacy that the coalition is doing, I'll just give you one example. We're meeting soon with North Island College because student housing. They have an issue too, and it's great that they're getting larger and their international programs are getting larger, but that affects the rental market, right? And so we've got to work in partnership with those kind of, if we'd been smart, we would have done that with Island Health too before the hospital started to be built, but we didn't think about it then. So that kind of advocacy, but individual for people finding a place. You can really got a better answer.
No, the only thing I was going to add is that 2 things. That if you look at our 5-year plan, you'll see we speak to the whole the spectrum, right? But within our organization, we have as members Habitat for Humanity, the Comox Valley Lions organization, which are big into seniors' homes, and they've got an application into the provincial government for some funding. So there is that whole spectrum. So in terms of the individual advocacy, it's really difficult. We get calls all the time. I got a call like 2 weeks ago from someone who's renting a condo. The condo's being sold. They can afford where they are, and they can afford something similar, which is not cheap, I know, in their circumstance, but they can't find anything, right? And they're just desperate. And so the market is tight at the moment until there's more supply. So anything that Comox and other municipalities can do to help with the supply, that would be great too, right? So,
Yeah, definitely.
Councilor Swift?
Yeah, thank you. I have some easy questions, I think. Could you just refresh my memory as to Braidwood? That's permanent housing, it's not transitional or?
Permanent housing.
It's permanent housing. Okay, thank you. And the other question I had was, part of your strategy for 2017, you talk about the adoption of the Federal Homeless Information Management System. Could you describe that?
I'll let you do that.
it's a database.
Okay.
It's a database. It's out there, and they're going to what's BC Housing. This is Canada, right? Federation, right? So BC Housing have had their own database, which we currently use. The federal government has a database that they're making available, and so BC Housing is talking to the feds about making some changes in the database so that it can be used and meet everybody's needs. And then they've given us, BC Housing's given providers such as ourselves who get some funding, fair warning that we'll be expected to move over to this new system. But the idea is that we'll have more standard measures across the country. So like that pit count that was done to a national standard so that we could actually be able to track a little bit better how we're doing from community to community. So that's what that means.
So they'd like a database that we can all use, but there has been, not just from here, but pushback on that around confidentiality and safety and all of that, so that's all in discussion.
Councilor McKinnon, you have the last word.
Yeah, just wanted to touch on some comments I made earlier that 19 different agencies have come together in our community. This doesn't happen in every community. And the results of their plan, I've seen it firsthand as a rep from council there, that they've already put things into action. Does two things for us. I think it tells people that when the best measure of a community is how a community takes care of its most vulnerable. And that's what this group has done. That we have a coalition in our community that has come forward already with results for those less fortunate people. I think that's a great message to our taxpayers that are wondering what's happened to funds that may be allocated to this. I just am so impressed by this group being selfless, coming and working as a coalition.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on. Thank you for the presentations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll move on to departmental reports. So motion to receive the first quarter financial statement report. Receive that. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Any questions for the Director of Finance who offered this report?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is the staff report, the 2016 census demographic data. Thank you. Receipt. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Again, a self-explanatory report. First, we knew that our population had increased up to 14,028. This just gives us a bit more of a breakdown on the age groupings. Positive news is that we are getting more people with families. That's good news. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Storm Sewer Knight Road report. Staff are looking for authorization to spend up to $995,000 for installation of storm sewer main along Knight Road. Okay, discussion on that.
Well, as a cyclist along Knight Road in the winter, I tell you, a widened road would be gladly taken because it's a nasty road in there. So I think that's a good move.
Now, this portion of it would not do the whole thing.
Yeah, but as we move forward with that, sure.
Yeah, you can see it on the map there on page 57. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Will it just be on one side that it'll be widened, or it'll be both sides, or?
Shall we?
Just the north. So that means you gotta go uphill to do it. All right, anything else, Councilor Price?
Yes, and with regard to pedestrians, will we just assume they'll go in the cycling lane? I know that's quite a dangerous road for pedestrians, particularly with the ditch there, and it's got increasingly busy with the airport and more airport traffic. So
Yeah,
just wondering,
well, it'll be a wider shoulder at this point. There won't be separate sidewalks or anything. As far as I know, right? Just a wider shoulder?
Yeah.
And that's not on the plan at all to have some...
Well, for 2027, there's further installation of the pedestrian path, but not at this juncture. Essentially, what you're doing is putting in the storm sewer and then paving over top of that, provide a wider shoulder. So, and ongoing for future upgrades to Knight Road, it's also dependent upon development in that area. So there's obviously still ditches to the area further west of Hudson that won't change to normal sort of city standards until there's more city-type development in that area. So, yes, it's not a great place to walk or cycle, but that's the long-range plan.
Thank you.
All right, so seeing no further comments, sorry, a motion to approve has been moved. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And when will that happen? Yeah.
Thank you, Worship. I believe the regional district are working on their final design, so we'll authorize McElhaney to include the storm design as part of their tender, and they said that would be 1 week.
Okay.
So I can see them going out to tender shortly after that. They're ready to go.
So the work will be sometime in summer?
Yes.
We couldn't do it this week sometimes, so we could be like everybody else and shut down all the main streets around.
You want to leave some open. Okay, so that's all been approved. Good. Staff go ahead with that. Of course, it's the council for final approval, but by next week. So correspondence from the regional district regarding water distribution to the Comox Lake system, and a motion to receive that correspondence.
You received that.
Want to receive that, all those in favor? Motion carried, and I was going to say Director Grant, it's actually Councillor Grant. Allowing half there.
Director Council, yeah.
You can speak to that.
I can give you some update on this. So this came up, and Dawn had provided me with some information regarding the Local Government Act, and this request actually contravenes the Local Government Act.
Okay.
So the Local Government Act, I could read it to you, but it doesn't matter. Really what it says is it's a pay-to-play model. So you have to be a participating member in order to get a vote. So they wanted to refer this to the strategic planning session, and they're bringing in a moderator to do that. So I suggested to them as we did that perhaps the discussion around a utilities commission might be a better way to go. A utilities commission, in my opinion, would take the utilities out of the hands of the politicians, put it into professionals, and allow them to, dictate when and where we do servicing. My vision would be to have engineers and other professional people on there. I think it would help take a lot of the politics and a lot of the nonsense out of what goes on a lot of these things. So that passed unanimously, so that will be going to the strategic planning session.
So we don't really need to do anything with this.
I believe that we're going to continue to talk about the first piece, which was Rod's request, but as well, we're going to talk about the Utilities Commission piece as well at that. So some, I don't think it really works very well to have the regional governments trying to dictate when and where and how we can put our services in when they're not paying for any of it. So my opinion is we might want to have comment on that at the very least.
I noticed the referral motion from the regional district was to staff for comments, so it's been put on our agenda. I assume staff can provide whatever information on that. Go ahead, Councillor Craig.
Yeah, if we were to combine all our water service areas into one, it is quite complex. First of all, some of them will carry debt because within those service areas we pay for the infrastructure. Some of them will have newer infrastructure, some will have really old infrastructure, and so it's a real mixed bag. And different policies in the rural areas, they do mandatory metering, we do the voluntary, and Courtney, does something on its own. So there's a lot of complexities here, and that we will be taking on systems. I think we've done pretty well with our system at keeping it in good condition and the asset managing side of it. So, some areas have a lot of old asbestos pipes. So there's a lot of costs associated with this as well that are hidden in the 3.9 statement.
So I guess something that I failed to mention too was that when we split the regional district off, there was a water commission was established, and that water commission I actually chaired it, so I know a little bit about it, although it was very confusing, but the idea of it was to figure out a method for when some of these smaller water systems wanted to join and become part of the larger system. So that was all put in place. It was mandated by the provincial government, so that is in place. I'm not really sure what you would do differently other than try and force people to join, which I don't think would work. It's the carrot or the stick kind of thing, so the carrot is out there. We do have some interest from some of the other water suppliers that are having trouble getting onto the regulation of the 321 and the new regulations. So there is discussions happening around that, and personally, I think that's the way to continue to go. Otherwise, you're going to want to try and force people to join, and I don't think you're going to have much success at that. So,
anyway. Is there some hope that if we got something like this done, then we'd have more users that would pay into this, $105 million project that we got to do, or is that just wishful thinking?
Well, yeah. At this point, I don't know that there's anybody that's really close enough to be.
Cumberland, but
they're there. Yeah, come on, it's Cumberland. They're not joining anybody else. Somebody else pays their way.
Yeah.
So, I think that, but as they do join, that would all be part of it. That they have to take on some of that debt load, and they have to pay their way into the system. You don't just come and join us for nothing. So, that's all part of how you join as you go. So.
I understand what Director Nichols is trying to do, but whenever I see this, commitment of funds to study this approach, blah 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 blah. well, how many more studies do we need to do? We've already done numerous watershed management studies, and on it goes. The key focus at the regional district, I would hope, I'm sure it is to get this filtration plan in place with everything else, and that's the key priority, certainly identified in our plan, to get rid of those boil water advisories as soon as possible. And I hate to see this kind of thing happen where, again, they get working on another report that's going to gather dust somewhere.
Yeah.
Good luck with the strat plan.
Well, my personal opinion on this is that this is Director Nicole, and this has to do more with Proto Beach and the sewer thing than anything else. And the angst that that group has over us putting a sewer pump into the regional area without them getting any say. I think that's really more what this is than anything. Yeah. So again, that's why a utilities commission would take all that politics and all that nonsense out of it, and it would just be a group of professionals telling us.
So, staff, are you needing anything from us, or are you going to respond?
We'll be responding, of course.
Taking into account some of these comments, okay, yes. Anything further, then we'll move on. So we do have an in-camera meeting. So a motion to exclude the public, who've already got, for sections 91E and G of the community charter. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Motion, all in favor? Motion's carried.